Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, waking up, feeling fantastic, and certainly having a great start to your day and a great week out there. Appreciate you folks tuning in this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen with the weather today. It's going to be active for some highly populated areas like Detroit, maybe even Cleveland, Toledo, areas of central and southern Michigan, the Ohio Valley. So we're going to talk about that. It's kind of active out there right now. We have some severe thunderstorm warnings in Wisconsin this morning. Some of these storms are ahead of schedule compared to the model guidance that I gave you guys last night. If you tuned into last night's video, which by the way, have not had a chance to acknowledge any comments yet. So if you're wondering, hey Mitch, you haven't answered any of my questions, I just have not got to it this morning. I'll try to do that for last night's video this morning, and then I'll answer all the other comments for this video. But we're going to try to break it down for you guys, get as detailed as possible one last time. I know there's a lot of people who view this channel from that area, and I really appreciate you folks. So we're definitely going to give back by getting very detailed with this, try to keep you guys aware. There's a tornado threat. I think the threat for anything, it being the highest, would be damaging winds. I think that's the highest threat is what I was trying to say. And there's going to be a hail threat, but we're going to talk about everything in this video. We'll break it all down. We'll talk about the rest of the country too. I want to note that we're going to switch it up a little bit about who we talk about first. Southeast is normally the first area I talk about, but we're really going to just throw you guys on a loop here. So definitely pay attention to the timestamps in the video so I can talk about your area. And definitely, if you're living in the Southeast and you're used to me talking about that area right off the dot, it's going to be different in this video. So definitely take advantage of those timestamps. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. And just pronouncing names and towns, things like that. If I butcher your specific town or town that you know, I do apologize. Definitely correct me in the comments. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt or anything like that. It's definitely appreciated. So definitely let me know if I mispronounce something or something like that, because we're going to be speaking on some towns, communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, the Ohio Valley. So what we got going on water vapor loop, this ridge, as you can tell, you got a flow going on right across the western U.S. into the middle of the country. It kind of dips down right here with a weakness in the ridge, but this weakness is beginning to strengthen somewhat. So we basically have a ridge over this entire region. I do apologize, I don't have my clicker up. I know that I need to update it, but I just have not gotten a chance to update it yet, and I think that's why it gives me a hard time sometimes. So it is not working for me this morning, so I'm not able to draw on this map. But the ridge is in this area, but it's beginning to really broaden. It's not as high up in Canada as it was over the last few days. It's really broadened out, so that means the Northeast is going to get quite hot today, and it's just going to be hotter for a larger geographical area today. We got heat advisories extended right up into the Mississippi Valley for a lot of areas. A lot of real estate is going to be very hot. We have some monsoonal moisture trapped up under this ridge down here, so we're going to have even more enhancement of showers and storms into the Four Corners region of the Southwest over here. And the big storyline is, you see the white colors right here, that is where we have ongoing showers and storms right now. So these are strong to severe already, and I can already tell you the models are struggling with initiating with this, which already throws a bone into everything I'm about to discuss, but we're going to try to give our best guess at it. I can tell you that what potentially unfolds this afternoon, the models agree with more than what they did maybe in last night's video. Okay, they certainly do. So definitely shower storms making its way through Minnesota and then Wisconsin this morning. That's pretty much what's going on. We are watching that tropical wave, I guess you would call, that had a chance of developing, but now it's all the way to zero. But this will actually help enhance moisture for the southern tip of Florida today. But let's focus in on this really quick. I might have to make this get in motion again. No, we're good. So there's two areas I'm watching. I would not be surprised if this goes severe warm south of Minneapolis here in the next, I don't know, update or two. So here in the next hour or so, this might become severe warm as it continues to dig southeastward in general, and might begin to take more of a west to east path as this ridge is actually flexing in. And that is why this area of storms is moving more so eastward, and this is dipping down more so southward. So I think that this will begin to turn and move a little bit further eastward here in time. So we got some showers just in eastern Iowa, but this line of storms right here in Wisconsin. When I was talking about Wisconsin last night, I was saying that maybe it could get quite active in this area mid to late morning. Well, it's pretty active out there as of pretty much around 6:10 a.m. and Central Time. It's around 7:07 a.m. Eastern Time when I'm making this video currently. But it's very active. Madison, you got a storm in and around just north of you guys. This storm is heading right towards the Milwaukee area this morning. So by the time some of you folks watch this in this area, you could be dealing with a severe storm. So what does this area do that will continue to go over Lake Michigan and enter the state of Michigan? Okay, I would argue that this area back here is maybe the area that really materializes into a big time line of storms later this afternoon. But you got this area and then this area, and both of them are packing a punch this morning. Okay, severe storms certainly ongoing. Everywhere else in the country, it's pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. You got an area of showers that's kind of wedging in between this building ridge. It's a little bit of a weakness here, and this is able to dip southward before this ridge really builds in and really advances any kind of moisture, taking more of a ridge rider setup to the north. But you are dealing with some rain right here in the Boot Hill, Missouri, northeast Arkansas, western Tennessee, western Kentucky, even some heavier showers and I wouldn't say storms, but some heavier rains falling in southern Illinois and things like that. So Storm Prediction Center today, we have the enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. This does include Detroit, almost to Cleveland. It includes Toledo, Fort Wayne regions, Kalamazoo, all these areas right here, and basically all of southern Michigan. Okay, right here in the heart of kind of central Michigan, just a slight risk, and then it cuts off significantly as you get up to like the northern sections of Michigan, the UP of Michigan, things like that. There is a slight risk right into this region. And if we look at the risk category with all this, the tornado risk, you got a 2%, you got a 5% risk of a tornado today within 25 miles in any given location in this brown area. We'll zoom into this in just a second, so bear with me. This slight risk over here has a less than a 2% risk. The wind threats, I think this will be the biggest threat today. You got a 30% risk in this red area to see winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. I want to note to you guys that I'm making this video just after 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Typically, the Storm Prediction Center does another update around 8:45, 9-ish Eastern Time. So if you're watching the video around that time frame, a lot of times day of a significant severe weather event, things change a lot. So there's a chance I'm giving you old information here, but I always try to put in the comments the latest Storm Prediction Center update so you guys have the updated information regardless of what the video depicts. So wind threat, that 30% risk, 15% risk of that criteria right here in Nebraska, areas of northwest Kansas. And then the hail threat. Nothing too significant with hail today. You got the 15% risk of hail in both of these areas, and that means there's a 15% risk in the yellow area to see hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Flash flooding risk, a slight risk, which pretty much includes the entire lower half of Michigan, and also a section here of eastern Wisconsin, and then a very small section of northern Ohio, which does include Cleveland, and the very far northern and northeast tip of Indiana have a slight risk, which means there's a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded. So just think of this as there's a 15% chance within 25 miles at any given point of flash flooding to occur. So you got the storms, you got the heavy rain, you also have that flooding threat that comes with all that heavy rain. Update on the tropics really quick, guys. This little area pretty much down to a 0% chance. This will get probably knocked off this map here in the next update or two. And then this one wave that was in the Eastern Caribbean, pretty much gone. Doesn't have anything on it anymore. But this is the one that, if you're a big fan of watching the tropics, this is the one everybody's watching. Okay, this is upgraded to from a 20 to a 30% risk of development in this region right here, north and northeast of the Lesser Antilles, within 7 days. So we'll watch as this big plume of moisture tries to become a dominant feature, finds a dominant feature, and eventually develops into a tropical depression, a tropical storm. The next name is Emily. We will watch this, and we will continue to provide updates on this in the coming videos, but now has a 30% risk to develop in the next 7 days. So pivotal weather as far as watches and warnings, massive area with heat advisories today, very hot. Chances are, wherever you're located, you know if you have a heat advisory, you know if it's going to be hot today. If you don't, check it out. The entire state of Missouri, most of Illinois, almost every county in Indiana except 2 counties in far northwest Indiana, all of western Kentucky, all of western Ohio. But check out the Northeast, southern New England, heat advisories up, even some excessive heat watches up. That could get upgraded to advisories or excessive heat warnings in New Jersey. New Jersey is a notorious state to get very hot up in the Northeast. So you got a couple really hot days ahead of you up here in the Northeast before a pretty potent cold front moves through in the Northeast. And we'll talk about that in the coming videos. Really cools you guys down significantly. But the heat is really flexing as this ridge is really widening out, if you will, across the entire lower 48. So let's go on and zoom into this. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the severe weather threat for the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley first. So we're going to zoom in, get you a better zoomed in look at what could happen today as far as the Storm Prediction Center. Detroit, enhanced risk. Flint, enhanced risk. Lansing, enhanced risk. Grand Rapids, you're just north of the enhanced risk. You're technically in a slight risk. Toledo, level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk down to Fort Wayne. South Bend, I think I already said Kalamazoo. If I didn't, there you go. Cleveland, you're technically in that slight risk, and we do have the slight risk that extends almost all the way down to Columbus, almost all the way down to Indianapolis. Not quite. It does include Chicago, but I want to note it's a tricky wild card here in Indiana, even Illinois, and Ohio today. The models are still weird about this area. But the Storm Prediction Center has kept the enhanced risk in this region. So what's the tornado risk? Well, you got the 5% risk in the brown. You got a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. That pretty much includes everybody in the enhanced risk that I just mentioned, okay? Wind threat is the other, I think, the biggest threat today. 30% risk. And we got to watch. Do we get a hatch risk today, which means, they'll throw in a black outline region in this red area, which means that we will have a 10% risk of significant winds, which is pushing 65 knots or higher. That's 70 to 75 miles per hour, hurricane force winds. That's something to watch out for. For now, just a pretty large area that has a 30% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour and mile per hour readings, okay? Yellow is a 15% risk of that same criteria. Obviously, just a lower percentage risk here. So I think the wind threat is going to be big today. And what I want to note here really quick is this is what it's showing is supposed to be happening as of 6 a.m. Central Time, which you're already past that. Technically is 6:15, but this is what it's saying is supposed to be happening based off the HRRR model, right? This is what is actually happening. Okay, let's go on and go back up here. This is what's actually happening. Let's make sure we can get this in full motion, and let's stop it right here. So this is current right now. All right, so we go back to the HRRR model on what it's saying is supposed to be happening. It's getting this little complex of storms decently well, about as good as you can ask for a model to do. Okay, it's a little bit further south than this, but this area of severe warned storms in Wisconsin right now, this is what's going on right now in Wisconsin. This is what the HRRR model is saying is supposed to be going on. So, nothing. So, that's already a wrench thrown into this, but we're still here to break it down, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I want to tell you guys, the Dakotas, you're going to have a chance of severe weather today. I know I never want to ignore everybody else just because you don't have a risk of anything. Iowa, I think once you get done with the rain, pretty quiet. Northern Missouri, and we'll talk about this little area here in the Northern Plains here in a second. Not little, this is a big area. But let's break down this area right into here. UP of Michigan, besides some morning showers and storms that are not expected to hit severe limits, I think as far as severe weather, I think you'll be okay today. I'm not going to talk much about the ingredients going into all this. What we do know is this is a pretty compact, mid-level piece of energy, and with a surface low associated with it, with a trailing cold front, warm front that's going to rise up through Michigan throughout the morning hours. This is really going to increase the humidity here in the next few hours. So, yeah, get a sip of water because we're about to get very detailed here. So, Michigan, obviously right here. I hope you would know that this is Michigan. If not, this is Michigan, this is Wisconsin, and this is the northern areas of Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois. We keep this rolling here. All right, and just note, the HRRR model has a pretty potent line of storms right here, but I'm sorry, in real time, there's a pretty nasty line of storms right here, but the HRRR model doesn't show anything. So I guess the big question is, does that area of storms dissipate here in the coming hours, or does it maintain? Does it weaken when it gets over Lake Michigan? Not sure. But let's focus on what the models are saying for this afternoon. So we get to around lunchtime. It does show some storms refiring here in eastern Wisconsin. So, if you're maybe all the way up to Green Bay, if you're in Milwaukee, Madison, Janesville, certainly be careful. Down to Chicago, even though most models don't show much storm action in Chicago, you can't rule it out. But this is the concern here. As we get into 2 to 3 p.m., and if you're confused about what time frame we're at, because I get talking about 95 miles per hour, and I forget to mention this, but this is in Eastern time. So back this up 1 hour. So it's around 2 p.m. All right, in Michigan time, Central time. So we get this going here. A big time area of storms blasting through Grand Rapids, okay, where you got the slight risk. Kalamazoo, Lansing, Holland, you guys experiencing some pretty bad storms just after lunchtime coming off Lake Michigan. Okay, this area of storms will continue. So the HRRR model, I'll stop it here. This is around 4 p.m. Has like 2 areas of storms. One right here that just moved through the same areas that are getting hit by another kind of line of storms or complex of storms. And then you have that one. So you got this one and this one. So you stop it here, and it's popping off in central and southern Michigan. You got a line of storms heading right towards Ann Arbor, Detroit, and making its way towards Lake Huron. So it's very active right now. Okay, we stop it right here. This is around 4 p.m. Lansing, Kalamazoo, Ann Arbor, 3 to 4, 5 p.m. You got clusters of pretty strong to severe storms, and you cannot ignore the tornado threat with this. Okay, I think on the southern extents of these storms, right down here in the southern several counties of Michigan, I think the tornado threat will be the highest. So basically, if you live, and if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone, looking at Google Maps, because I like to go out my way to name some towns and some cities. So Jackson, Michigan, Coldwater, was that Hillsdale, Adrian. You guys, I would really watch a tornado threat down here, but it could be just north, it could be just south. On the southern extent of these lines of storms, these will continue to move through, be quite dangerous. And then Detroit, sometime 5, 6 p.m., these storms look pretty powerful. But I mean, you freeze it here, it's around 5 p.m. You got some pretty powerful storms moving through the southern half of Michigan. Now, if you're up here in northern Michigan, you're wondering if anything's going to happen with us, I would say you guys could get some storms today, but I think that you're going to be lacking the thermodynamics, as the warm front won't quite make it all the way up there. If it does, we'll see. But I think you're lacking real thermodynamics for big-time severe storms. But this shows a pretty nasty complex of storms driving through the southern half of Michigan. By the time we get to midnight, it's pretty calm. Not a whole lot going on. What does the NAM show? NAM doing a little bit better job of what's happening right now in Wisconsin, but it's still way off. So shows this area of storms getting going. And you want to watch these little cells right into here. If anything gets going around 2 to 3 p.m. in this area right here of central Michigan, I would say that they're going to run a little bit of a risk for a tornado threat as this warm front is surging northward across Michigan. But I'll stop it here. This is 2 p.m. central Wisconsin time. You got some storms right around the Green Bay area, right here basically in eastern Wisconsin. Okay, but this is what the HRRR model says for that same time period. Okay, shows some storms working their way already into Michigan. Okay, now it does show these storms like the NAM does in eastern Wisconsin, but you go back to the NAM doesn't show anything going on right here around 2 p.m. So it's a big difference already. But the NAM does show a powerful line of storms quickly getting its act together over Lake Michigan. And then it shows it being pretty active as far north as Traverse City. I know you guys have already told me how to pronounce it. I actually looked on Google and looked up how to say it, and I still brain farted in the videos, but you guys get what I'm saying up here. It shows it pretty active in you guys' neck of the woods. Cadillac, it shows it being pretty Alpena. You guys, it shows some powerful storms up here based off the NAM. It shows it being pretty active in northern Michigan. So both models disagree with northern Michigan, but they both agree with central and southern Michigan with just a bulldozer of a line of storms moving through. It's just the timing is off. For example, this is around 7 p.m. Central Time off the HRRR model. This is, man, I wish this would stop pulling up. This is around 7 p.m. based off the HRRR model. It shows the worst of the weather already surging southeastward and just dealing with some light rain. So this is a big difference. The timing's off. NAM says, hey, we're going to get very active later in the day. HRRR model says a little bit earlier in the day. NAM, you're getting into right when the sun's setting, and you got a powerful line of storms sweeping through the entire area of Michigan, and it doesn't get active into areas like Detroit until like 9-10 p.m. HRRR model is multiple hours earlier. So yeah, it's a big difference, guys. It really is, and it's going to be tough to figure out to a degree, but one thing that models do agree with is the tornado threat being, I would say, more so in southern Michigan. Okay, and maybe even the northern sections of these states we're going to mention to the south of Michigan. But what you're looking at here is basically a highlighted areas of where the updraft velocity tracks is showing, basically saying, hey, these storms could be rotating down here. That doesn't mean that there's 100% chance there's going to be a tornado in this region. It just means that if there's basically the HRRR model is saying that this area right here has the highest chance to see rotating thunderstorms. So please be careful, which, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Jackson, Ann Arbor, all these areas, all the way down to Detroit. Okay, I think by far Michigan, in my opinion, is going to be the most active state today. So we look at the we looked at the wind gust swath. So remember, this goes in 1 hour intervals. So just because you see this weird gap into this weird region of Michigan doesn't mean that you're just not going to get anything. It goes in 1 hour intervals. So it shows basically the HRRR model does a pretty powerful line of storms working its way through this southern half of Michigan. And you can see in these little embedded colored areas, this is winds pushing, 50, 60, almost 70 miles per hour. And I think that is possible today in these regions. I think you're going to have the chance to get power outages in this entire section of Michigan. What does the NAM show with the same thing? It shows stronger wind gusts for more widespread areas further north. I mean, it shows some 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts in some of these little embedded areas. And it definitely shows just a little bit more widespread and further north. So that's why you got that 30% risk of damaging winds in this region, okay? So we go down here to Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. My folks down here are probably screaming, when are you going to mention us? Well, I'll tell you, and I don't think a whole lot's changed from last night's video. The HRRR model says, hey, all the action, we're going to keep all the action in Michigan. It does show the tail end of these storms kind of oozing down into northern Indiana, maybe getting close to the South Bend region, maybe kind of creeping down to Fort Wayne, getting down here to Toledo. It shows some strong storms trying to get down there. It does show some rain, but man, it just keeps most of it in Michigan. It's getting to Lake Erie now at this point. And it does eventually, as we get into 9-10 p.m., show some storms eventually kind of trickling down into northern Ohio. And that's when it could get quite active in Toledo, Cleveland, all the way over to Akron, Canton, all the way down to Youngstown. It could get quite active later in the evening, and then these will kind of creep into northeast areas of Ohio through the wee hours of the morning. But I would tell you, back here in Indiana, not a whole lot. But I will tell you, Illinois is a wild card. Illinois, and I'm about to show you why. It does show some storms firing up in Illinois, maybe just north of even St. Louis, Missouri. Do these try to hit severe limits? It's possible. But the NAM, what does the NAM show for this region? Same deal, definitely later in time for Michigan. But look at this area right here back in Illinois. Okay, Illinois, you got a line of storms that just quickly fires up right around the Springfield, Champaign regions, and oozes southward. And this will be a pretty nasty line of storms for nearly everybody in southern Illinois. And the time frame would be probably the evening time, all the way to maybe reaching all the way to about midnight. Okay, so this is a little bit of a wild card that the NAM is showing, and I would say the FV3 model is showing kind of a similar scenario. Okay, but then you look up here in Ohio, it does eventually show what these storms in Michigan doing what the HRRR model did, but a little bit later. It shows a line of storms making it to northern Ohio, maybe even northern Indiana, sometime around I would say just before midnight, and could have a line of storms making its way through Cleveland around midnight, and same thing, could eventually make its way into eastern Ohio. So weird look here, right? And I'll even look at the FV3 model. FV3 model, it wants to skip Indiana also, okay? And it doesn't even, the FV3 model says, hey, Michigan's going to be a dud too. So it's hard to take this model serious. It really does, but it does show some action down here in eastern areas of Missouri, southwest Illinois. So it's a tough day. Just don't give your local meteorologist some slack here. And I know that it's their job, and I certainly you want to hold them accountable, but this is a tough one, and I just kind of explained to you why it's a tough one today. I hope that all makes sense. The northern plains, things could get quite active today, especially down here in Colorado. I think we could get 1 or 2 powerful storms here in Nebraska. Certainly watch out if you live around the, North Platte. And just north of Lexington, right along the interstate that kind of moves right through of central Nebraska, south central Nebraska. Some powerful storms are possible here in eastern Colorado too. As we make it to our evening time frame, we could get 1 or 2 lone storms here in far deep southern sections of South Dakota, and just some showers and storms are possible here in Wyoming, especially eastern and southeastern Wyoming. And we'll watch for a little cluster of southwest Nebraska, southwest Nebraska, northwest sections of Kansas late this evening, 9, 10, 11 p.m. We'll certainly watch this. And then we might wake up tomorrow morning with a little streamer of moisture here in Montana and northern North Dakota. So these could produce some gusty winds, some large hail. As far as out west, and as you can notice, I'm making my way a little bit differently. We got moisture trapped kind of underneath this ridge, and right here in the Four Corners region, it looks like everything's just doing a circle, right? It pops up, you get some showers and storms that pop up right around that 2 to 3 p.m. time frame. I think some isolated storms, downpours are possible throughout everybody in Utah, southern and southeast and southwest sections of Wyoming, the Rockies in Colorado, New Mexico could see it. Areas of Arizona could see it, especially central and north central Arizona. A stronger storm or two is possible south of Tucson again. And, these all pop up and then they diminish with the loss of daytime heating, as always. But, definitely here in the Four Corners region, some shower and storm activity is possible. My folks in the south central U.S., quiet. Not a whole lot to speak on. Could see some storms in Missouri today. You could. And then we already talked about this area right into here. But outside of that, not a whole lot to speak on. You guys are just hot like you've been all summer. And I think that, severe storm-wise, it's a pretty chill day. Not a whole lot going on out there. The southeast, pretty quiet. The only thing that I would mention is maybe some pop-up downpours like you can get any time of the year, even when there's a low chance of rain. Possible really anywhere in the southeast. I would watch them for the Carolinas. But I think you're going to get a push of moisture in from all this moisture from this a little system that has a 0% chance to develop now. But the Bahamas is going to be quite rainy and stormy, and I think you could have some storms that really push through the southern tip of Florida later on today. I really do. And you get a little bit of a closer look at this as far as how much rain could fall. If you're in Key West, the Florida Keys, where the water temperatures are ridiculous right now. But anyways, 1 to 2 inches of rain could fall from this push of moisture in from the southeast. But you could get some rain here in central Florida too. Showers and storms, typical afternoon stuff in Florida. The northeast, most of the day is pretty quiet. It's just very hot. Okay, but what we will watch is later on, is it NAM going to be correct or the HRRR model? All right, so if the HRRR model is correct, then that says, hey, we're going to get some storms that moves into Erie, northeast Ohio, Buffalo, around or just before the midnight time frame. All right, these, head into the southern tier, Finger Lakes regions of New York State. But by then it says, hey, this is going to be weakening. 1 or 2 a.m. You could be getting some showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder as far southwest as Pittsburgh. This could make its way through northern areas of Pennsylvania, and then we're waking up tomorrow morning, and then we're gonna have to discuss the severe weather threat for the Northeast as the atmosphere reloads, but for the Northeast, and we're going to have a severe weather threat. So definitely some rain late tonight in this region of the country, definitely possible. Temperatures very hot. The ridge is definitely flattened out. It's affecting areas of the Northeast. Now it's going to get quite hot. I think it'll get hotter in these regions today. But with high humidity, you definitely got heat advisories up. And I really think this is going to be more so for tomorrow, where the heat will really build in. But very hot temperatures in the Southeast, widespread 90s to upper 90s. The middle of the country, very hot. In fact, we'll zoom into this region. St. Louis will flirt with 100 today. Certainly areas in central and western Missouri will get very hot, and just a very hot day across most of the country. Low 90s into Minneapolis, very, very hot temperatures. And it continues to be scorching hot in Phoenix, where you guys are dealing with heat-related deaths, and just continues to be downright miserable in this area. I think you guys have eclipsed the 110-degree mark for 3 weeks straight. Somebody fact check me there. So I think it hit 118 in Phoenix yesterday. So it just continues to be brutally hot. Northern Plains is hot, but I would say the Northwest, you guys are dealing with a little bit of a cool down, so that's good. You guys are cooled down up here. Tomorrow we do have the severe weather risk. We have a large slight risk for millions of people. Big cities like, household cities like, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, all the way up to Boston. Okay, you guys have a slight risk, and there is a tornado risk with this too. So you guys be safe today. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Appreciate y'all, and I'll have you an update either tonight or tomorrow morning. God bless.